Good evening, I'm Jason Vio. This is CBC Windsor News. Thank you so much for watching. Here's what's making news tonight. We dive into that renegotiated battery plant deal. Is the $15 billion government investment too much or worth every penny? People on both sides weigh in. Plus, an increased police presence in downtown Windsor for 2 days, but some say that's unnecessary. And lights out at a magic mushroom shop in Windsor. That's after a police raid this afternoon, but the owner says they plan to bounce back anyway. More details have emerged over the last 24 hours about the deal to save the Nexstar EV battery plant right here in Windsor. The CBC's TJ Deer walks us through the details of that deal and the reaction.
This is the scene at the Nexstar EV battery plant. Happy construction workers returning to build the facility. A welcome sight after fears that 2,500 jobs tied to the plant and thousands more in spin-offs would disappear when Stellantis and LG Energy Solutions paused construction on part of the facility in May. To build the plant, $15 billion in tax breaks will be made available to Stellantis and LG over the next decade. Those batteries will go into vehicles at the Windsor assembly plant, whose workers say they're happy a deal's been struck.
It's a great thing for Windsor, Ontario, and the community. It's going to be bring a lot of work and future prosperity in this town.
Fantastic news. Couldn't be better. Yeah, I'm glad they came to an agreement. All parties resolved. It's good for us, good for Windsor, good for the economy.
For every job here, that's like 6 more jobs directly in the community for the feeder plants and stuff. So it's good that that battery plant is back on track.
Ontario Economic Development Minister Vic Fideli said the deal mirrors the Inflation Reduction Act, better known as the IRA. That's the legislation that's been enticing automakers and other companies to set up shop in the United States to make clean energy products. Fideli made it clear that the deal is based on production goals the company has to meet and that the government would not hand them a multi-billion-dollar check immediately. The province is on the hook for a third of the cost in this deal, a massive increase from the $500 million they put forward when it was announced last year. And this is another massive investment by the feds. Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne said this deal and their similar $13 billion deal with Volkswagen are once in a generation that will keep jobs in Canada and secure the country's auto sector. He says their approach to the deals was based on what Ottawa can do compared to Washington.
As opposed to what the United States has done, which is basically offering a tax credit, a refundable tax credit, we say we're going to negotiate something which is akin to that, but we're going to be very selective. We've done that with Volkswagen. We're doing that with Stellantis and LG.
As part of that selective strategy, Champagne hinted that there may be 1 or 2 more similar deals with other companies coming. Fideli said this deal would help create jobs along the EV supply chain all over the province.
This is all part of a transformation that's taking place, and this will be a pivotal component to that. It's really important that Canada secures some of these battery plants because this is going to effectively be the backbone of this new electric vehicle supply chain.
However, not everyone was happy with the deal. A citizens' tax advocacy group says the Nexstar and Volkswagen deals are horrible for taxpayers.
Well, how are we going to pay for this? Seriously, people are struggling. People can't afford higher taxes to pay for it. And what's truly troubling is the dangerous precedent that these corporate welfare deals represent, right? How many other big corporations are now going to get a bucket of cash courtesy of the Trudeau government and the Ford government?
Windsor-Tecumseh MP Eric Kazmierczak called Terrazzano's concerns horsefluffle, saying the federal government has made investments in a variety of sectors across the country. Stellantis says the battery plant should be operational early next year. TJ Deer, CBC News, Windsor.
And as you've heard, a lot of excitement around this deal, but it's not just about the jobs at the battery plant itself. Invest Windsor Essex says they have $2.5 billion in potential leads attached to that project, and they may not convince all of those companies to build here, but big companies are certainly interested. It could lead up to 10,000 jobs in related production, they say, something a lot of leaders in the area have been bringing up. Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens says there's a big push to secure those jobs for the area, and it's happening fast.
We're already seeing that happen. In fact, since this deal was announced yesterday, we've had 3 companies in the wings that were ready to go. We're bringing these deals to City Council at our in-camera meeting on Monday, and we're trying to get these over the finish line to make sure that we see these investments land right here in Windsor that benefit Ontario and Canada as well. And so the value chain and the vertical integration of this particular project with modules, with cell production, with R&D is what differentiates it from the Volkswagen investment in St. Thomas, and what makes it so important to make sure that we get this built, get all of these people employed, and certainly cement our place as the auto capital of Canada, because we've got great things to offer here in Canada and in Ontario with all the critical mineral supply chains that we have. We're just at the beginning of something that is going to pay dividends for decades and decades for all of Ontario.
Here's a live look at the Fun Guys Magic Mushroom Shop in downtown Windsor. It opened just last week and it's looking very different today. That's because Windsor police raided this shop earlier this afternoon, and the owner told me that he would reopen as early as tomorrow, even though it's illegal to sell these types of products in Canada. Now, take a look at this. Here is a look at officers coming out with bags of what appear to be mushrooms and other items they seized. I actually called the owner on the phone while the raid was happening. He told me that he watched that raid happen on surveillance cameras, all while opening another store in Montreal. He told me officers were being a bit excessive by taking things such as TVs and the ATM. At one point, police can also be seen, as you see here, ripping down the shop's signage in the window.
With what's in the warrants, they shouldn't be taking TVs. There's USBs in the back of the TVs which contain the menu. The TV isn't going to get them anywhere. Again, they just try to cause as much damage as possible to make it hard for us to reopen. But again, they plan on taking our sign. If they do that, we'll just have to put up a nice, bright, big sign, right?
Again, the shop has been open for 1 week here in Windsor. While I spoke with him, he was in Montreal getting ready to open up his 12th location in Canada. He says he's been raided before, and each time his lawyers file a constitutional challenge, which is what he says he plans to do here in Windsor. That's because he believes magic mushrooms should be legal in Canada. Windsor police say they received multiple complaints about the shop before its raid. Police won't say if any arrests were made, but Gorbans says that didn't happen in this case. Here are the rules around magic mushrooms in Canada. It's illegal to produce, sell, and possess magic mushrooms in this country. The owner tells us that's part of why he's opening these shops, to push for magic mushrooms to be legalized. The owner says they're trying to get customers to use their products for medical purposes, to use small amounts of magic mushrooms to treat things like anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and depression. That's called microdosing. Health Canada, though, says that clinical trials have been having some promising results as a therapeutic product, but there are no approved products that include psilocybin. Now, here's a look at what customers could buy before the raid. Experts say there is a potential for psychedelic effects and things to help, but one clinical psychologist that we spoke with tells us the evidence hasn't shown they work in any lasting way. There have been an increasing number of police officers in downtown Windsor, but the initiative is only for a couple of days this week. Some business owners in the area say more could be done, and there are concerns about the perception of the area, not just in Windsor, but from people across the border. Jacob Barker has more.
Another downtown window taken out. Kyle Gray says he doesn't need business like this.
We got enough legitimate work. We don't need people going breaking windows.
Broken glass like this has been a common sight in the area. Several shops and businesses have seen similar instances in the recent past.
I mean, it just doesn't look good. And even in Detroit, you know, they don't like broken windows everywhere in plywood, right?
Today is the second day of a two-day initiative for Windsor Police, and while there have been recent instances of violence and vandalism in the downtown core, Police Chief Jason Belair says he believes the area is safe. Bar owner Tom Lucier is known for staying late at night to watch the area around his downtown bar. He says that police presence is sorely needed all the time, especially late at night.
There are no more police anywhere. There weren't even human beings. The only person that we saw was a security guard that went to do a door check at St. Clair College and then went and hid back in wherever they hide. And the people of the night. That's it.
Lucier recently highlighted a post on Reddit from Detroit entitled, "Is Windsor sort of rough?" I was kind of unpleasantly surprised at how run down the city is along the riverfront, even in downtown, near the tunnel, entrance and exit, the post read. I always thought of Windsor as this quirky but vibrant little sibling of Detroit, but based on our experience yesterday, I don't really see much of a reason to go back. Some of the commenters agreed, while others suggested other parts of town to go to, like Little Italy. Lucier says talk like this among Detroiters isn't just online.
I hear it all the time from my friends from Detroit. Some of them love it here because they can get marijuana easier and it's less stigmatized over here. But for the most part, in terms of what they see with their eyes when they are over here, it's pretty busted. And you can't argue with that. You can't tell them that's not true.
And it's not just Lucier. The vandalism and violence have affected many other businesses in the area. This bar worker would like to see more regular patrols in downtown as well. The cross-border perception upsets her.
It kind of hurts the businesses out here trying to make a living, right? Or people that work for the business trying to make a living. So it definitely hurts. I think it's just being able to care for the people out here to make it comfortable for everybody. The homeless people, the people visiting, people that live here, just everybody in general.
Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
And that extra police presence in downtown Windsor that Jacob was talking about there is not necessary, according to the chair of the Black Council of Windsor-Essex. Leslie McCurdy says the council has a justice and policing committee that regularly communicates with police. McCurdy says the council was not made aware of plans for an increased police presence in the Corps. She says there's a fear that more Black youth are going to be unnecessarily targeted by police and wonders why the council was not consulted. McCurdy says she'd rather see the money going towards this campaign used instead for social services. Police did not respond to requests for an interview about her concerns. Windsor Morning brought TJ Travis on the show today. He works as the executive director of Artisite. It's an artist-run center located beside the Capitol Theatre.
We might agree that the most basic function of police is to protect property and to provide safety. Where that splits is historically the police have served that function for some while systemically being weaponized against others. The generational experience of abuse by the hands of law enforcement are valid and true, but because of that, we have members of our community who are triggered and traumatized by their presence. On the other hand, there's a segment of our community who find safety in the presence of police officers. And that's valid. That's valid as well. I think the big concern is that, you know, we have hurt and fear and desperation, and it's becoming present more and more. And in our city, maybe particularly in our downtown core, I think it's sad that we've come to a point where we have to consider over-policing any area of our community. And I don't believe additional policing to be the answer. The root of the problem is deep and systemic, and to name it and to put blame on it would be just as neglectful as the greed or classism that may have brought us to this point. I've not noticed the extra presence of law enforcement in the downtown core.
Yeah.
I understand that we've had issues, especially we've had like recent issues, but it's something that's been going on for a long time. So I think everybody's like trying to figure out what the quick solution is going to be, but I find fault in being so committed to whatever this quick solution is going to be when we know that there's a long-bearing systemic issue that needs to be over-resourced, you know, so we can get to a place of like real community safety.
And you can find a lot more on that story on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. The Humane Society says they're noticing a change this year, more pets being surrendered and more strays. They've got a new adoption push right now, looking to connect people to big dogs that have been around for some weeks.
This is something that shelters across North America have been talking about for the past year. We were lucky it didn't happen to us till this year, but we've noticed that the numbers of surrenders and the number of stray dogs has increased quite dramatically this year over this time last year. During the pandemic, there was a huge bubble of people acquiring dogs for the first time. And so when you've got that number of dogs that people are taking in, there are going to be some of those that don't work out. And I think that's where we're seeing some of those surrenders. There's a lot of situations where people can't keep an animal. Sometimes family members are allergic and they're not aware of it. Sometimes there's financial issues. Sometimes it is that people made a rash decision. And that's why when people adopt, we really try to ensure that people are aware of the long-term commitment they're making, and that's why our returns are actually down from last year. But unfortunately, over the last few years, there was a lot of people who maybe rushed into dog ownership that maybe wasn't the best choice. We've been hearing from other shelters in Ontario that they've been seeing this same increase in intake, increase in strays and surrenders coming in, and a plateauing or a reduction in adoptions. Dogs that are free are dogs that have been here for more than 30 days, dogs that are over 100 pounds, and dogs that are over 4 years of age. Those are just the ones, if they've been here for 30 days, they're not getting seen as much. The larger dogs and the middle-aged dogs are the ones that tend to have a little bit of a harder time getting adopted. So those guys are free, but every dog we have available on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is 50% off.
Federal officials are warning that the wildfire risk right across Canada remains high for the next 2 months.
Drought conditions, when coupled with above normal temperatures across most of the country, means that the risk of fire activity is going to remain very high throughout the majority of the summer. 2023 now carries the unfortunate distinction of being Canada's worst wildfire season on record.
Nearly 650 wildfires are currently burning across the country, with more than half of them out of control. Hundreds of firefighters from the U.S., Mexico, New Zealand, and European nations are in Canada assisting crews battling those fires. This year has already seen more than 3,400 fires. So far, 8.8 million hectares of forest have been destroyed. Experts worry the hot, dry conditions coupled with lightning strikes could spark even more fires. Still to come here on CBC Windsor News, a heat warning still in effect. How long will that stick around? Colette Kennedy has those answers next.
Chicago.
A bit of rain to start the day, but nothing that could ruin a fun day in the sun for one little animal in our region. Take a look at this little buddy we found on the riverfront. Doing a bit of a tightrope along the edge there. It's a baby mink. They're not uncommon along the river. Minks are big fans of wetlands and they love shoreside shrubs as well. There he is hopping around. We thought you might enjoy seeing this, especially before weather and especially for our animal-loving colleague, Colette Kennedy, who is standing by live to explain to us some weather and what's going on there. But that was a cute little guy roaming the river there.
It does, and that's if I had been there to see that, what I would have described him. Oh, a cute little guy, because I can describe weather, but certain animals kind of like that, I can't tell them apart, like muskrats and like minks and whatever. It's a cute little animal there. So nice to see that one. And let's talk about this and what's happening with your weather. So 30 degrees, the daytime high. The timing, in some ways, really worked out very well in southwestern Ontario, because had that front been a little bit later, it would have been more active weather. There has been active weather in the province, but it's been a little further eastward, and where we haven't even seen the impact really moving through yet. I mean, it's working its way there over towards the Ottawa Valley. So the temperatures there were the warmer ones, and the Humane values are still very high there. So the warning's still in place, the heat warning, but you can see where it's been carved out and dropped by Environment Canada because of the changes that are occurring with temperatures coming down and humidity values coming down a little bit as well. We're still holding on to this. We will see it lifted, I would expect tonight, but if not, certainly by tomorrow. We're still going to have some warm and nice conditions, but just not meeting that criteria or even close to for the warning. Current readings there, Sarnia much cooler at 21 and Goderich at 20, and Windsor, Chatham, Kent, look at 27 degrees, and the Humane value still up there. And so that's why it may not be close to 40, but it's enough that the warning is still there for a little while yet. Here are some of those stronger storms, kind of south Chatham, around the Merlin area. This sort of got going, and that was part of the second line that you're seeing here, because there was more significant stuff before that, but again, it really came together further east from southwestern Ontario. And still some storms coming through there around Sarnia. Kind of a big picture that there are areas into cottage country near Georgian Bay with some really heavy downpours and some localized flooding there. But through the overnight, we keep seeing this moving on, and we'll actually get clearing skies through the overnight, becoming partly cloudy and then seeing fewer and fewer clouds. So we get into a better day on Friday, and then the next system starts approaching as we go towards Saturday. So because of that, I have put more cloud cover back in the forecast Saturday. I've put a chance for some showers, but it'll be somewhat short-lived. Second half of the day, we should get into more variable skies, getting more sun in there, keeping in mind the sun setting so late at this time of year. So I think we'll still eke out some decent conditions for part of Saturday. And then Sunday, we have kind of that improvement coming eventually too. Overnight tonight, the winds will be easing through the overnight hours, and we get into that clearing trend, and that's going to allow those temperatures to come down. So, hey, more temperatures that are good for sleeping weather, right? Into Friday, we've got 27, feeling like 30 with the clearing skies, getting into sun. More cloud cover, chance of showers Saturday early, then becoming variable. Do have a chance Sunday into showers. Then that improvement really comes. I know it's after the weekend, right, Jason? But then we see warmth and sunshine back again.
I know, temperature-wise, that 5 days looking pretty good, Colette.
Yeah, it actually is going to be feeling a little better for many.
For sure. Thanks so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
Still to come, the growing world of esports and how video game playing University of Windsor students are topping the charts. Stay with us. There's a lot of focus on electric vehicles right now. That billion-dollar deal, a clear sign of where the auto industry is looking next. But it's not the only option. Toronto's Pearson Airport will soon have a way to refuel cars and trucks, but it won't be with gasoline. Clara Pasica was at the airport today to find out more.
I'm here with a Hyundai hydrogen-powered car. There aren't too many vehicles like this around yet, but the hope is that one day vehicles like this could soon be driving on the nearby highway, something dependent on infrastructure like what was announced here today.
I am delighted to be here today at the initiation of a project to establish Ontario's first publicly accessible light and heavy-duty hydrogen refilling station, as it marks a significant step in the advancing of the hydrogen economy in Ontario.
Pull that up, and that's where you...
The feds are kicking in $1 million to make this project happen, something the government says will further emission goals.
On-road transportation accounts for close to 20% of our greenhouse gas emissions. So decarbonizing transportation is one of the most important ways for us to have clean air in our communities. It also represents a generational economic opportunity to lead the world in building a more sustainable future.
So how does a hydrogen-powered car even work?
It's actually quite simple. So this is called the fuel cell stack, and this is where the chemical reaction happens between the air and the hydrogen gas from the tanks. So between those chemical reactions, you just get two byproducts. So the electricity powers the wheels, and the other one is just water. You get water from the exhaust pipe.
While it's very early days for hydrogen-powered cars on our roads, this is one of several stations that have been announced across the country. The hope is that this is part of something larger. And innovations like this, combined with electric vehicles, could soon decarbonize some of the highest emission roads, like the 401. Now, while where I'm standing here might not look like much, collaborators say you should be soon able to refuel your hydrogen-powered car by the end of this year. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Mississauga.
Playing video games competitively is growing around the world. Locally, the University of Windsor's very own Lancer Gaming won 2 recent championships. One of these was a tournament for Rocket League soccer with cars. A goal there from the finals match. The team recently competed in the NECC National Challenger Champions. They won 4-3 in a close victory over St. Clair College. Achieving this goal is something coaches are appreciative of.
No, it's something we've been building towards, especially with everyone we brought in. We were very close last semester coming in, but kind of fell short. But this semester we pushed hard. We reached our goal, and there's nothing more than that.
Leadership of Lancer Gaming's Rocket League team says there are no plans to relax. As soon as next semester, the team could be facing off against the best players in the world. That's it for us here at CBC Windsor News, live at 6. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, though, for news anytime, head to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can check us out on social media on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks again for watching. Have a great night.